This is Pastor Susan, and welcome to another day of devotions this week as we are wrestling with doubt and with faith as it relates to our understanding of heaven. And I've had lots of people that have asked me, what does heaven look like? I don't know. That's what I say. I don't know. I haven't been there. There's many descriptions that the authors of the biblical text want us to imagine, and I think in our own holy imaginations we have these ideas of what heaven is like, but ultimately we won't know until we are there, and that's where the doubt and faith come in, right? But today I just want to say we've always wrestled with this idea of what's next. What is heaven like? How will we experience it? And certainly I think I'm fascinated. I don't know about you. I'm fascinated with those near-death experiences that strangely have a lot of things in common if you look at them side by side. Some themes continue to rise. But I want us to consider that it has always been a hard thing for people to grasp, and to be a little bit of skepticism about. But still, we hear these words, and so I want to read today from Paul's letter to the Corinthians, the first letter to the Corinthians, and we're going to be looking at the wisdom of God as proclaimed in chapter 2, verses, 4 through 9. Listen to these words. Paul's talking about when he came to them, and he said, "My speech and my proclamation were not with plausible words of wisdom, but with a demonstration of the Spirit and power, so that your faith might rest not on human wisdom, but on the power of God. And yet among the mature we do speak wisdom, though it is not a wisdom of this age or of the rulers of this age who are doomed to perish. But we speak God's wisdom, secret and hidden, which God decreed before the ages for our glory. None of the rulers of this age understood this, for if they had, they would not have crucified the Lord of glory. But as it is written," and this comes from Isaiah chapter 64, "what no eye has seen nor ear heard, nor the human heart conceived, what God has prepared for those who love him." The world's wisdom, there's some things that we do not understand on this side of eternity. And yet God's wisdom and truth came to writers inspired who received this a little bit of understanding that leads us to faith into what we cannot see. And so today my prayers for us is that we will continue to wrestle, that we will continue to seek to believe, that we will continue to take those leaps of faith into the unseen, which is what we call faith. And think about the fact that if you look at Mark's Gospel in chapter 1, verse 10, that it should have been pretty easy to recognize who Jesus was and to see a little bit more about the eternal, because it said in his baptism in Mark's Gospel that the heavens were opened up and that the Spirit of God descended upon Jesus, and they still didn't get it. And many signs and wonders happened, and people still didn't get it. And so we still continue to wrestle with heaven, with our faith. And as I said, I think in the very first sermon of this series, if I get to the end of my life and I find out that everything is not as I thought it was, would I have still lived this life? And I'm here to tell you, I would. I would. Because living a life of faith in God's love and grace and acceptance, in God's call to love my enemy as well as my friend, to God's call to love and be force of justice and mercy and compassion in the world. It's the way in which I experience in my own life a sense of peace and calling and purpose. And so I believe all of that. I believe what the scriptures say about the resurrection. And I still have doubts. And I still have those times when I have to look at the scriptures again and again and again and consider what they might be saying to me and to you about faith, about trust, and about the knowledge that God is bigger and more majestic and more wise than we can imagine or think in our own human earthly wisdom. So let us lean on that. Let us take a step, maybe a big leap, into faith as we trust that the God who is in heaven loves us so much that Jesus came and he lived and he died and he rose again so that you and I might not be afraid of death, but to know that death has been overcome, the sting of death doesn't last forever, and that God has a place for you and for me. Thanks be to God, and may we live our lives as those who believe it. Amen and amen.